Welcome to Tech Cadence. Today I'll be reviewing the iPhone 13 mini. I definitely recommend this phone for most people, especially if you carry your phone in your pocket. The two primary reasons, in my opinion, to consider a different iPhone is if you do a lot of content creation or if you would like to have the telephoto lens that comes with the Pro cameras. I would say the iPhone 13 mini is my favorite smartphone that I've ever had. As a frame of reference, I started with the BlackBerry Storm, then I had the Droid X, then I had the iPhone 4S. I also had the 5S and 6, but I traded those in. Then I got the iPhone 7 Plus, and then the 11 Pro Max. So for the last 6 years, the iPhone I've had has been this size. I had the 7 Plus for 3 years, and then I had the 11 Pro Max for 3 years. As you can see, the difference between the 13 mini and the Pro Max is massive. So I originally got the 13 mini to solve a very specific problem. I'm using my phone to learn Spanish, and what I found was that the 11 Pro Max is so big and heavy that my fingers would start to hurt if I studied for any substantial length of time. So when I got the 13 mini, I didn't put it on a cell plan right away. I wanted to see if it would organically replace my 11 Pro Max. That is to say, if I could use either phone, which one would I choose to use? What I found surprised me. More and more, I would be using the 13 mini until eventually I took the 11 Pro Max off the cell plan and put the 13 mini on the cell plan as my primary device. So as you're thinking about which phone would be best for you, I think it's helpful to think about how you primarily use your phone. One of the main ways I use my phone is for music, and the 13 mini is fantastic for listening to music because it's so small to have in your pocket that it's easy to carry around, it's easy to get in and out of your pocket, as well as if it's setting down, it's easy to pick up and change songs. The 11 Pro Max or the max size phones as a daily device, they're too big, they're too heavy. I think a lot of times when people think about a bigger screen, you kind of assume that bigger is better. And you always think about maybe the dimensions of the screen are bigger, but they're also heavier. And it may only be a couple ounces, but that weight adds up over time. And this device isn't very comfortable to hold. Even with the PopSocket, I can pretty much only hold it one way, and that's two-handed, like this. Whereas with the 13 mini, I use a MagSafe PopSocket attached directly onto the phone, which, by the way, the box of the MagSafe PopSocket says not to do, but I've been doing it, and I think it's a fantastic experience. It guarantees that the PopSocket sticks squarely in the phone. It's great for watching video. It also greatly expands the ways you can hold the phone. I mean, you're talking easy one-handed operation, either hand. There's just so many ways to operate the phone that it's a way better experience. For example, when I study Spanish with the 13 mini, my hands never get tired. Just a heads up, if you do decide to attach a MagSafe PopSocket directly to the phone, it does leave a little bit of a mark. I don't know if you can see it on my phone. My phone is colored midnight. It leaves a little bit of a ring. You can clean it up so you almost can't see it, but it is still there. For me, it's worth it. So just please be aware, if you attach a MagSafe PopSocket directly to the phone, it probably will leave a little bit of a mark. I prefer to use the 13 mini without a case. I did get a Apple silicone case on clearance. It has a lip that goes over the phone, and it just kind of takes away from the easier experience. One thing I will say, in my previous phones, I didn't use a case until I got the 7 Plus. Because it was so big, I just wasn't comfortable that I might not drop it. But then when you get a case, it adds bulk. The iPhone 13 mini is so nice to have in your pocket that a lot of times I'll be out and about and I'll think I forgot my phone, and I'll actually have to do a quick pat down to see if the phone is in my pocket, which it always is. But that's how small it is. With the bigger phones, I always know it's in my pocket. It's a pain. It's a pain to put in your pocket. It's a pain to get out of your pocket. One thing that's great about the 13 mini is doing little tasks throughout the day are so much better and easier. For example, running errands, going to a concert or a sporting event. So many times now, tickets are on our phone, and it's just so quick and easy to get out of your pocket for scanning or using Apple Pay versus the larger phones, especially if you live in a place that gets cold and then you have a winter coat and you're just trying to get the phone out of your pocket. For example, when I put the Pro Max in my pocket, it literally takes two hands. I have to hold my pocket open with one hand and then put the phone in with the other. Whereas with the 13 mini, it's all one-handed operation. I can just drop it into my pocket. So you can imagine when you're out and about, You want to take it out, you need to scan a ticket, it's super easy. You need to use Apple Pay, it's super easy. The 13 mini makes little things like that, just daily life routine stuff, a little bit better. When I'm listening to music, every time I want to pick it up, it's just so much easier. And that's another great thing about the MagSafe PopSocket. It has it set a little bit off the ground, so it's just really easy to grab. And also by not using a case, I'm able to get the true tactile feel of the buttons, and I just think that's a lot better experience when I'm adjusting the volume than when you have a case covering the volume dials. Using the phone as a GPS really surprised me in how good of an experience that was. I wasn't sure how it would be going from the Pro Max size to the Mini in terms of viewing the GPS in my car, but I actually like it better for two reasons. One, I can see it just as clear as the Max, but also, so I use like this vent thing, and it just attaches to my car vent, and the Mini takes up way less space on my dash when I'm using it. So I'm able to access the rest of the controls of the car easier, as well as sometimes if I took a turn a little sharp with the Pro Max, this entire thing would go flying off the vent because the Max is so big and heavy. Another thing that surprised me with the 13 mini, that I really don't mind watching video on it. I really thought it would be a downgrade to go from the Pro Max size to the Mini. It wasn't that big of a difference for me, and there actually has some benefits to the Mini. So if I'm cleaning, for example, and I'm in different rooms and I'm watching a video, if I'm doing dishes and then I go to fold laundry, the 13 mini is so easy to just move from room to room and just pick up and take it with me and carry it around the house. Whereas the Pro Max, it's really a pain to lug around and put in my pocket. It's just not a convenient device. I'm not saying there's no role for the Pro Max for people. The Pro Max can serve a specific purpose, but as far as a daily device, for most people, I just don't think it's practical. It's not fun. They've gotten too big and too heavy. Now, for a frame of reference, when people think of the Mini, and is it big enough, as recently as August 2017, the biggest, most expensive iPhone was the 7 Plus. So that's less than 6 years ago. Do you know how large the screen size was on the 7 Plus? 5.5 inches. Do you know how large the screen size is on the 13 mini? 5.4 inches. So basically, in less than 6 years, the biggest plus size iPhone is now described as the mini iPhone. I think that's weird. It doesn't really make sense to me that we've changed that much. I just feel like Apple's gone a little nuts with it. I'm glad they have the 13 mini, and I'd be fine maybe if they did a mini every other year. But I think to permanently get rid of it, I think is a bad idea. I think it's bad for consumer choice. I also think that they did a bad job marketing the mini, because most everyone I know didn't know there was a 13 mini. So I just don't think they really sold it. Also, they didn't give the mini all the features of the larger phones, especially the Pros. Now, the number one feature that I wish the 13 mini had that it doesn't is the telephoto lens. I like to take photos, I like to take videos. I do wish I could zoom in. For me personally, the only two iPhones I would consider out of the current iPhone lineup, I would consider the 13 mini, and I would consider the 6.1 inch smaller sized 14 Pro. But keep in mind, the price difference between the Mini and the Pro is very substantial. So you can almost buy two minis for the price of a Pro Max. If you're doing a lot of content creation, then I would possibly consider the Pro phones. I have a second channel where I do a lot of nature videos. If that channel does better, I will have to consider getting a Pro model for the telephoto lens and action mode and some of the other features that the Pro models have. I don't want a bigger phone. I'm thrilled with the Mini. I'm happy with the Mini. I wish it had the telephoto lens. I don't miss the larger screen for almost everything I do, but it is nice when you're editing photos or videos and you're trying to just be precise in what you're doing, as well as if you're doing a lot of photography. Using the camera on the Mini is kind of nice. It's very discreet. It's very quick and easy to get in my pocket. I can take a quick photo. But if you're really doing, like if you have a hobby of photography, then you might want a bigger screen, because it is nice to be able to see as much detail as possible for the photos you're getting, as well as you have the best cameras if you get the Pro models. I do want to mention there is one oddity with the camera on the 13 mini that isn't exclusive to the 13 mini. I know that other iPhones in the iPhone 13 lineup had this. I don't know if the regular iPhones in the 14 lineup have this, but when you take a photo up close, it gets blurry. There's workarounds. You can start further away and then zoom in with your hands. It's not a big deal. I didn't even notice the issue for several months after I had the phone, but it is something to be aware of. But to my knowledge, the only way to get around that issue is to get the Pro models. Now, maybe the regular 14 models don't have this issue, but I haven't been able to test that, so I can't tell you for sure. That's just something to be aware of. But again, to get the Pro models, you're paying an extra $400. So you have to decide if that's personally worth it for you. I will say the iPhone mini isn't the best for texting. For me, my hands get a little cramped on the smaller screen if I'm sending a long text. It's fine for short text. It's easy to work around that. You can use your voice or use a different device. I haven't had any issues with battery life. I charge the phone every night. It's never ran out by the end of the day. Battery life is heavily dependent on your use case, how you use the phone, how often the screen is on, things like that. I know that's a concern with smaller phones. So if you've had issues with battery life in the past, that may be something to think about in terms of getting a larger phone. So in conclusion, the 13 mini is a great phone. It's my favorite smartphone that I've ever had. It's a great combination of functionality and portability. To me, it strikes a really good balance with that. I wish it still had the telephoto lens. I think for most people, the 13 mini will be great. It's definitely not too small. Like I said, if you think back to the 7 Plus, which wasn't that long ago, less than 6 years, the screen size at that time, the Plus size is now the size of the mini. I think part of the reason I want a smaller phone is for 6 years, I carried around something that was huge. In my experience, the 13 mini works great for pretty much every task. And in many tasks, it's actually better. I think that's it. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.